This is the all-new BMW 8 Series, and it's pretty much the comeback king of 2019 because it brings back a badge that's been discontinued for 2 decades. Much like then, the 8 Series now is sort of a rejigging of BMW's lineup as a replacement for the BMW 6 Series, and as you can see, it is much more of a sleeker coupe line. You'd think this lines up with the Mercedes-Benz S-Class coupe, but it actually doesn't. It's more in the E-Class coupe territory. The model we have with us today is the M850i xDrive. It's not a fully fledged M car, but it is really a heavy hitter. Under the bonnet you'll find a 4.4 litre twin turbo V8 which pushes 390 kilowatts and 750 Newton meters, which this car needs because it weighs close to 2 tons. Considering the 8 Series is a Grand Tourer, the interior fittingly represents that. It's quite comfortable, it's very premium. This crystal glass setup in the center console is optional. Personally, I wouldn't opt for it, but if you like it, it is there. Considering it is a coupe, the rear seats are a little bit cramped, so you'd need to be a bit smaller than usual if you want to fit in there. But there's not much else to talk about the interior. It's very in line with BMW's current direction, so what's next left for us to do is to experience that V8 on the road. So I must admit, when I first found out that the 8 Series wasn't going to be S-Class coupe sized, I was a little bit disappointed because I do really like that S-Class coupe and I would have loved to have experienced something in that same class. But driving this here today, I think it is actually quite a fitting replacement for the 6 Series. What I love about this car is just how it balances being a luxury coupe with an engaging drive as well. And it's not even the fully fledged M model. In fact, I probably anticipate this will be the sweet spot of the range because that M8 and M8 competition is going to be around 460 kilowatts, which is a lot. And like I said, this car needs the power to lug its weight around, but even though it's close to 2 tons, it feels nimble. I wouldn't say it feels light, but it feels very capable. And that's partly due to the fact that it's based on the xDrive system. I mean, we always knew what this car was going to feel like more or less because it uses the CLAR platform, so it was going to be in line with what 5 Series is like. I did get to drive that M550i with the xDrive setup, which is essentially the same car as this, and I like that a lot. This one reflects that quite well. The sound, we're never going to get a loud V8 anymore, unfortunately, and it's very difficult for me to criticize the sound because I know that the manufacturers such as BMW can't do anything about that. They have very, very strict policies about sound and pollution over there now, so you kind of have to forgive them for not being able to make the cars loud. Having said that, this gives off a very, very cheeky V8 verbal, and it's one that's likely going to put a smile on your face. Some of it is fed through the speakers, obviously, but it sounds good. And I mean, like I said, the way this thing picks up speed, the way it handles around the corners, it's a very inviting drive. I recently saw one parked next to a 4 Series coupe. I have to say the size difference between the two cars weren't that much. And if I could think back to the 4 Series, even the way this drives is completely different. It's a lot more of a refined experience. 4 Series is a bit more youthful in its drive. This one, it feels a lot more grown up. That's something I appreciate. The heart of this car, the 4.4 litre twin turbo, is just fantastic. The way it picks up speed, the way it handles this car's mass, and the way it just doesn't have any turbo lag is amazing. And it fits this chassis really, really well. It levels itself out quite nicely through the corners, so you don't feel a lot of body roll, which is a bit rare for a car this weight. But once you kind of get the hang of it, and once you get the flow of the way this car drives through the corners, it's a very enjoyable experience. The 8 Series offers a really great Grand Tourer experience. Personally, I don't see why it couldn't have just been called the 6 Series, because it feels a bit closer to the 5 than it does the 7, but it's a decision they made 20 years ago. It's a decision they made now again. Maybe it will work out for them. Although this isn't the flagship, the M8, I do have to say that this 390 kilowatt derivative M850i is more than enough in terms of power. It is very fast. It's very fun to drive. It's also quite relaxing, which is why I'm fairly curious to see what that M8 is going to be like. Guess we'll just have to wait and see.